Welcome to Geek Nerd Tech on Black Hollywood Live. Today, Google and Facebook have an economic problem. Let's go.
You are tuned in to Black Hollywood Live's Geek Nerd Tech. Here we go again. Trayvon will never get to be an older man. Black children, they childhood.
Welcome to Geek Nerd Tech on Black Hollywood Live. The show we break down tech news and nerd culture from a black and brown geek perspective. I'm Joe Braswell. I'm joined as always by Mr. Kitty Shine.
Yes, sir.
What's up,
Kitty
Kitty?
Shine's in the building.
This is Common.
Common and Stevie Wonder, man.
Common and Stevie.
It's a dope track right here.
I have to confess, I'm 100% not knowing about this track.
It's all good, man.
Where
It's
is
called
this?
Black America again.
Where's it
It's
from?
Common's new album. And he's
It's new.
Coming with that heat.
Oh, that makes me feel better, Lee. I'm like,
Coming
I
with
never.
that politicized, socially conscious,
Right.
lyrical content, which I'm really loving in this time that we're in.
That's good. Well, coming off of the Oscar win and Selma and sort of the momentum he's gotten from that. Not that he wasn't that dude already,
Yeah, of course.
but it's just an opportunity to propel himself to a level where people are paying attention. So, what better time to get some messages out there?
Yeah, I think it's kind of just seeing a lot of artists embrace these times and become more vocal in their creative process as to what they're communicating to their audience. I think it's just really good. It's good for the young folks that we have kind of like in the early 90s a diversity of hip hop in terms of the lyrical content. Like a lot of it isn't just trap music and just buffoonery, but we have some substance and music that is actually going to heal and uplift us, as well as entertain us. So
I was thinking the same thing when I was listening to Travis Scott last night because this is a joke. I'm sorry.
right.
But it's just my joke. Welcome to our show. We have a lot to talk about. We got a lot of tech news and nerd news and some different things to talk about. But I want to there's a couple things on my mind. I saw, let's see, a lot of things to talk about. I saw a screening of Moonlight, and if you guys don't know about this film, it is it's a small independent film that got raves in Toronto and raves in I believe Sundance, and it's basically a small black film that kind of deals with homosexuality in a very interesting way, and it's probably one of the most affecting, well acted, well directed films that is a tiny small film that I've seen in years, and it really, really affected me. I'd be remiss if I don't mention it. Moonlight. I know you probably read about it and stuff, but I don't think you've seen it because it just dropped on Friday. But maybe you've seen it. You're busy, but have you heard feedback?
I definitely know about the movie, read about the movie, heard about it. It's getting rave reviews. As a piece of art in terms of just how it's shot, the cinematography, the quality of acting, and then obviously the storyline, which is as it relates to the black community too, is something that's often not really addressed or really communicated on. So I think having all those three things operating together, it produces a strong product, and I hope that as a black film, it's embraced by our community. Unlike Birth of a Nation, we didn't really show up for that movie, so
No.
we got to support.
Why do you think that is? Controversy only, or just in general?
Definitely controversy. I think it was subverted, through it was the quality of the art and the work and the themes that were being addressed in the movie were kind of marginalized, and what was magnified was his personal stuff, and I feel that was strategic. And also I think a lot of us as a people were fearful to face imagery and stories of slavery. We talk about post-traumatic slave syndrome, and oftentimes it's hard to look at ourselves in the mirror and to see stories of abuse and pain, and oftentimes we stray away from that. And I think that is a part of the symptom, but it's something that we have to overcome. And I think we should embrace a story of slavery that is actually more a narrative that's from our voice, and I think I was just really disappointed with those numbers. Like I went to see the movie, and I was literally the only person in the theater, like a huge theater, one person in there.
Wow,
it's terrible.
Of any race or gender, huh? that is terrible. I think that do you think that we, I speak to black folks, do you think that we have a little bit of slave movie fatigue? You know, do you buy into that? Like, another slave movie. I mean, I get it. You know, do you buy into that at all?
Don't buy it at all. That argument is terrible. It's a weak argument. Like do we say that with other forms of movie? Do we say we're tired of you know, the comedic output that we are able to create that's pretty similar in structure?
Well, I say that to your point. I mean, not that slave movies are it's just the pain that maybe we feel or don't want to feel in watching this movie. As Black folks, you know, I'm sure you know white folks have expressed other reasons, similar reasons, and other reasons for seeing and not seeing those movies. But like for us, I wonder if it is sort of a painful thing, like, you know, especially in our younger generation, especially with millennials.
And being in pain isn't necessarily a bad thing, because once you're able to acknowledge that you're in pain or that you have something that's afflicting you or affecting you emotionally, psychologically, then you can do something about it. And just from the historical value of it, like a lot of us young folks don't even know the history of Nat Turner. You know, most of what we're taught in school about African American history is limited to like 3 things: Harriet Tubman, Rosa Parks, Martin Luther King. So to have a story about a slave who actually rebelled against this brutal system, and not have us participate in it, I think it doesn't do justice to, you know, our ancestry and our history, and also doesn't really empower young folk, because it's not giving them the full scope of what happened. And it's a piece of art. Like, it's beautifully shot, it's well constructed, and it's directed, produced, financed by Black men. Like, we gotta embrace that, you know. What do you think about that?
I think you're being really liberal with Harriet Tubman. I think it's more like Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, but
Harriet Tubman's in the curriculum.
It's true. It's very true. No, yeah, I think it's an interesting topic, because I conflicted with this myself. I find it. I'm of two minds of this. I do think that there's a little bit of fatigue, because I do feel like I don't want the movie going experience to feel like it is. I gotta go see this one now. I want to be able to want to go and learn about this thing, and I want it to be good, right? Because there's a certain amount of pain and a certain amount of drama and that you're sort of embracing and putting yourself to while you're learning, right? But I also agree that I don't like the slave experience, if you will, to be so monolithic, like as it is in the culture, like a slave movie. There's so many different intricate stories to be told through, you know, during that whole time that are weaved through in and out of slavery, that are the fabric of sort of our history, that I don't like the idea of it being a slave, like just being you know, pigeonholed as slave movies. I mean, they're stories. There are stories. I feel like I wish there was a better way to be able to. I'm just more like in a marketing standpoint, more better way to just say, look, these are some stories. They took place during these times, and you need to embrace them for what they are, as these stories.
But at the end of the day, it's a slave narrative.
It is a slave narrative, but I think that there's a sort of like. There's a box that people put it into mentally.
Yeah, and it has a negative connotation to it. But it doesn't have to. That's the whole point.
That's my point. I want to figure out a way to not have a negative connotation.
Yeah.
Like, I want it to, you know, instead of a slave movie or slave story, I want it to be a story set in these times. You know, I don't think that. In other words, I don't. Well, yeah, I mean, there's been a bunch of Holocaust movies, and
100%. You don't hear those arguments with that, or you don't hear the arguments with the veterans when they do a World War II movie or any type of war movie. Like, so those arguments to me are very weak, and they distract us from going through the healing process.
Sure.
And I feel like, man, slavery, you know, is America's original sin. Like, centuries of slavery, and we only have 12 movies.
Yeah.
And out of those 12 movies, like, how many of them are directed and told from the perspective of a Black person? Not probably the minority. So I think it's shameful for us not to embrace one that is.
Yeah, I mean, especially that's something that's not only that America's sin; it's just America's origins and sort of built. You know, this country is built from the backs of slaves, like financially, economically, and actually just, you know, construction. You know, the White House is built by slaves, so it's like, you know. So yeah, I think that there's a lot of stories to be told, you know, within that narrative. But anyway, I digress. I do just one more thing. Just really pivoting over to Moonlight is that I just found this profoundly moving as a piece of art. I mean, you know, subject matter fantastic, acting fantastic, but just what I was looking at, it's been a long time. I mean, it just reminded me very much of Terrence Malick. A lot of Spike Lee in there, but a lot of Terrence Malick in there, but a lot of, like, visually what I'm seeing, I felt like I was just sitting at an art museum looking at beautiful paintings and was very moved by what I saw. And there's very, very little dialogue in the film, but what these actors are emoting and what the visuals are saying is, I don't think it's been a long time since I've said that, since I've felt that. It's akin to like just sitting on a bench in an art museum, just staring at a photo, and then maybe shedding a tear because you're really into what you're seeing. Right. That's what this movie's like to me. And I think that to achieve that visually and from a narrative standpoint and from an acting standpoint it's just remarkable. So I can't recommend it enough. And Janelle Monáe and Naomi, I forget my girl's name, the British girl. She's in it, and my man Cottonmouth is in it. From Luke Cage, and my dude from the Nick, Dr. Elginon's in it, and it's just fantastic. Anyway, that's that being said, check it out. All right, making a hard pivot into the world of tech. So in this election season, what's been in the news is in general a lot. We talk a lot about trade. Donald Trump's been talking a lot about trade. We talk about a lot about TPP. Are we for it? Do we like it? Are we against it? Before that, we talked about NAFTA. Trump called that the worst deal in history, which is all economists rebuke that. But the reason why I bring up trade is because Google and Facebook. It's a new study that they contribute zero economic value, meaning like they don't have a measurable way to in the way that most large companies do, whether it's U.S. Steel or Ford or even Walmart. There's no way to measure sort of what their economic value is or isn't in a tangible sense, and why that's an issue. It's hard for trade because these are two gigantic, hugely money producing American companies that on paper don't really produce anything, and so thinking about how to reconcile that as we look to the future of what America is going to be known for is actually an interesting and kind of complicated but interesting economic problem.
Yeah, I wouldn't go as far to say there's no way to measure it. I would just say that the rules of measurement need to change to be more inclusive of the future state that we're in. And so, I mean, it's interesting that when we talk about companies that in the industrial time would grow so big that they become a monopoly because of the goods that they were distributing, producing. But with social media area, there are no goods. There are no tangible, hard goods that they're producing and distributing. It's more of an idea. It's in the ether. It's like invisible. Mm-hmm. It's a concept. It's a platform. And so I think because of that, this mystique of what it is baked into that argument. But when you talk about trading overseas and just how a lot of the European Union and China, all these roadblocks that are kind of like put in front of like the Facebooks, the Twitters, the Googles of the world, because in a way they're trying to get a little edge advantage over America. I think I read a statistic saying that out of all the digital company, all the biggest digital companies, I think like the top 10, America holds like 40% of the wealth, or like a huge percentage of the wealth, right. Even though China has way more digital companies in America, but America has obviously the biggest.
Right.
But in a way to like compete with America, maybe China or countries within the European Union are going to tax them or prevent them from having certain access to the people in those regions. And I think that's an interesting topic, because in a way it's like it goes against the fair trade rules that are established with hard products, tangible products that these countries already have.
Yeah, and that's something like these companies are trying to. I mean, we don't really have Alibaba like here, and then they don't have, they lock out a lot of our companies there. I mean, even companies that I do consider tech companies like Uber trying to penetrate in China, and it's difficult. So it's really, but it's really important to the fabric of our, trade is important, whether you're for it or against it, whatever. But trade is important on both sides. I mean, we help grow a bunch of, we help build middle classes and take people out of poverty all over the world, and a lot of our goods and services that we receive are, that even though they may be cheap and made in China, it really stimulates our economy, that the fact that we're able to buy so much. But the fact that that from a tech standpoint, that I don't know, that doesn't exist or can't exist in that way. It's just an interesting conundrum, I think.
But I get it from the perspective of the foreigner in the sense that, you know, we talk about all the time on the show how large these tech companies are becoming and have become and will become.
Bees.
And not having, you know, a competitor to, you know, drive innovation or to level the playing field, I think from a different country's perspective could be of high concern. Like, I don't want to allow Google to come into our space and be able to dominate, and we can't generate that type of energy and power within our own ranks. Like, I would be suggested that they are probably trying to do as much as they can to tax and prevent them from really being ubiquitous in those regions, like, or trying to at least leverage and pivot so that they can at least have some type of competitive value, you know.
Right. So we'll see how that plays out. But I want to move on to something that I had this idea. This is one of the things, like, you know, you have so many ideas for apps, and you come up with the idea, you think about it, and then someone else does it. This just shows you like how everyone can have an idea, but only certain people can do and develop. Delta has a new app that lets you track your bag from the airplane to the airport. It seems like a very simple idea and a meaningless idea, but I guess as part of the service that an airline app provides, I think it's fantastic. Let you know where your bag is. You know, it's nothing like being, whatever, a mile high in the sky, looking at your app and seeing your bag is still on the tarmac. But I wonder how much that happens with Delta. I don't know. I think it's cool for Delta because it really helps keep their workers in Delta accountable for them, because they're showing transparency. So we'll say, look, this is how much we know we're going to be on point because we're letting you track your bags. Right. And if there is a mistake, at least you know exactly where it is and where it's going to come. So I think it's cool.
Yeah, I think it's cool too. I mean, because at the end of the day, they want to be able to, you know, keep their customers, you know, they want to keep the customer satisfaction high, and that's a huge deal breaker. You know, when you choose an airline and your bags get lost, or you go on vacation and you don't have your luggage, or you go on a business excursion and you don't have your equipment or whatever, like that might make you not want to fly with that airline. And so I think having the transparency, as you say, and just utilizing the technology to be able to at least, you know, be outward facing and say, hey, you have the opportunity to get all your information in this app, not just, you know, your points, your miles, and the gate information, but also your bag. And I think that is very inclusive of the whole travel experience. And I know they're using RFID technology, not using GPS technology yet, but I think that will be good, you know, once they are able to really incorporate GPS technology and make it a little bit more accurate and specific.
Yeah, this is also, all that is getting into the, you know, sort of getting into the Black Mirror territory. Like, because every time I see these new technology, I think of, you know, in the Black Mirror, like what's next? What's the one step? We're right here. What's the one step further? We're going to be tracking our pilots to see if they're at the bar. Are we going to be tracking, you know, looking up the safety record, tracking, like, you know, it's interesting, tracking the how many times the plane you have is, what's the service record on the plane you have. As a friend of mine,
I'm sure they already tracked that, but that's not public information.
Not public information. Yeah. No, but I have a friend she is obsessed, and she's lives in Atlanta. She's obsessed with plane models. What the plane model is. Like, she won't fly in a plane. Goes, oh nope, that's the DC 725. That one's crashed like 5 times. Like, she's all about it. But I think that's interesting because you know. And plane crashes are so rare, but, you know, I think it's good to have that information.
That's funny
to a certain degree. That's actually Steve's cousin does that. She's funny. Okay. Anyway, moving on. T-Mobile's in a bit of trouble. They got fined $48 million, which seems kind of light. $48 million for slowing internet speeds. Basically, we had this big kerfuffle, if you will, last year over net neutrality and what this means, and keeping corporations out of the ability to manipulate what your speeds are and kind of things on the net. Well, T-Mobile has their wonderful unlimited data from T-Mobile, all the data you want until you get to about 17 gigabytes, and we're going to cut it in half. So it turns out that basically a lot of customers, once they get to 17 gigs, T-Mobile slows your junk way down, I guess, because it's unlimited data is not really unlimited, because all that info has to be somewhere, so you can tout that, but you can't really manage that if you're growing like that, right? So I guess their way to fix that was, we're just going to like shrink it down and they won't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's that it's just the type of marketing that, you know, is distasteful, because, you know, they're throwing in your face, you know, these keywords that are attractive and, you know, that pull you in and make you sign up, and you know, without reading the fine print, like you're I mean, you're getting a bad deal essentially, because I mean, we live in a landscape where, you know, you watch a couple movies, listen to a couple podcasts and albums, and that 17 gigs ramps up real quick. And your month, you got 25 more days left in your month cycle. So it's like, okay, now you're gonna slow my speed down. Now I can't get anything. So I think that's kind of corruptible in a sense, and I'm glad that they were fined. And I do agree with you in terms of the price tag on that. I think it's very low. I think they should have hit them over the head, you know, because I think who was it? Was it AT&T where they hit over the head for like $100 million?
Yeah.
I wonder, like, the justification.
$48 million is that's like you know, seat cushion money for for 10 of them. I mean,
and even how it's being distributed back out, I think, you know, is kind of funky. Like, the government's taking like a percentage of that, and then, you know, I like the fact that they're donating $1 million, which is not very much, but
also,
you know, chump change, $1 million to inner city kids who don't have internet or
get out of here,
or phones or tablets to be able to do homework on.
I mean, I'm saying get out of there, because any money is good money. That's the thing.
You should be doing that anyway.
A, you should be doing that anyway. B, it's such $1 million. It's such a, you know, they should be donating it anyway. That's it's such a PR, you know, whitewash, if you will. But anyway,
but see, that's the thing with T-Mobile. In terms, this is my last note on this. In terms of the demographic, the audience is younger folks, you know. So I think that Trojan horse marketing ploy works for them, because a lot of kids aren't going to read the contract. You know?
And T-Mobile, you know, to their credit or to their not credit, or like very much like, hey man, we said it's unlimited. We didn't say it was going to be fast the whole time. Y'all got to read. It's unlimited, but you know, sometimes it's slow, sometimes it's fast. I don't know. You want cheap internet or what?
Man, so we didn't say it's gonna be fast.
Yeah, we just said it was gonna be unlimited. So that is, it's interesting. There's no fine print even. I'm looking at the ad. The fine print must be really fine in there. So
it's like blended into the
print. Exactly. Anyway, moving on. Speaking of phones, you know, there's a lot of you know, Samsung Note debacle is now being sort of examined and autopsied, if you will, and dissected. And one of the things that's coming out is that there's a lot of mistakes along the way. Like when the Note 7s first started catching fire, they did a bunch of X-rays and CT scans on some phones and found that like one of the batteries out of one of their company affiliates had a little bulge in it, and they just really were like, "Oh, that's it. Get rid of all those. We're all set. And keep it moving." Well, that wasn't a problem, and shit kept blowing up. And it's a huge mistake, man. It's just one of the things that came out, and then we're seeing like it's just interesting how you see like this how corporate failing can happen, come from the top down, and a whole gigantic company can fall in line and still be the wrong mistake. It's a huge lesson. It's
very surprising in the sense that a large company like this, a global company like this, doesn't have the checks and balances in place to ensure that one of their major products is like Trump tight, ready to go, especially when they're trying to compete against Apple and expand their market share. I mean, this is detrimental to a company in terms of its brand identity, brand allegiance from consumers. I mean, I think it shows how shaken and rattled they are when they're facing Apple, in the sense that, hey, we got to get this product out now, you know, because Apple, you know, the 7 Plus is coming. We got to get it out before then.
Right.
Like,
but we're not talking about an earbud not work. We're not talking about a power button not work. We're talking about shit blowing up, like exploding. So the checks and balances on this is like, it boggles my mind. It's one of those things where we always think all the time like, big company like Samsung, they know what they're doing. Yeah. And when you read this stuff, you're like, oh wow, people don't really know what they're doing.
Yeah, I guess it's the same like when some cars get recalled because they have something wrong with the engine, but still, like, you would think that. I mean, you would think that in this time that after how many launches that preceded this, they would have stuff in place. Like, okay, box check, product is good. Test, A+. You know?
Because seeing a bulge and be like, oh, that's the problem, and then you know, get rid of the bulges and then ship the rest, that just seems so irresponsible. Whatever. I mean, it's all hindsight, of course, and the stakes are high, but man, I don't know. Another person that there's a talk, which I don't really, you know, love this article, but they're saying that another victim of Samsung's nightmare has been actually Apple, which is not in that Apple is directly paying the price for this, but what they're saying is they haven't really been able to capitalize.
I agree.
over what's going on.
Why don't you like that?
I feel like to a certain degree, maybe this is my Apple I mean, I'm talking about the article. The way the article itself is written, it feels more of like a kind of a Apple trash piece than it does a proper analysis. But maybe I just read it too quickly. But essentially, we can talk about this right now, because essentially what they're saying is, look, sales of smartphones are flattening, if at best flattening. Apple's sales are are dropping a little bit in terms of where they're declining from where they've been, which is steady, straight uphill increase. So you have some plateauing and some dropping, but the iPhone 7 is sort of a lackluster debut, and it's got problems of its own. And after in the wake of your chief competitor, phone's blowing up, you still can't capitalize. You still can't get people to switch over to iPhone 7 or to iPhone in general.
Yeah,
like that seems like a fail.
And I agree with that. Because when you look at the whole ensemble of Apple products, I mean, we won't talk about the computers, but we'll talk about, the tablets, the phones, the watches. Like the watches are doing terribly. We already know that.
Are you calling the watch? Are you going to call the watches a failure?
I mean, I would say it's a failure failure when you are comparing other Apple product launches and just the trajectory and the history of Apple. When it drops something, it's highly successful. The Apple Watch is not highly successful. It's just not. Like, look at the numbers. Statistically, it's been going down since it launched. In terms of like phones, like you don't see. I mean, I finally got mine, and it's really nothing to rave about it,
right.
But you don't see lines out the door. You don't see a huge demand that you've seen in previous launches, and I think that, like we talked about before, like I feel like the level, the playing field is more even now because the technology. There's no crazy improvements or advancements in the technology. So when in one sitting Apple used to lead, now they're not really leading because their competitors are doing pretty much the same stuff. Like the hardware, the manufacturing elements of the phone are pretty much the same stuff. The meat of the phone is pretty much the same. It's the same components. And so I feel like in that sense, they were in a perfect position to be able to really like kill Samsung, and they didn't. They haven't, and that's shameful.
Yeah, I disagree. I mean, I agree from a business standpoint. It's hard you didn't really capitalize. I don't necessarily agree that the phones are the same. I think this is just, and we talked about this before, I think it's just really, it's a perception game and it's a marketing game, and like what Apple's been able to do all these years from a marketing standpoint and a design standpoint is lead the way in cool and make this be the must-have thing because it's so cool. This is where they're kind of failing in the Apple Watch, right? Because when they announced the Apple Watch, I was like, I want it, and then once I saw it and held it and messed around with it, I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And doing some research for a thing we were doing a couple days ago, I saw a bunch of smartwatches where I was like, oh, these all look way better. All of them look way better than the Apple Watch. My point about the phone is I wonder about, did Apple sort of set itself up with these keynotes and these launches for us to expect something bigger and better every time? And maybe,
of course they do.
But maybe you're not going to get something bigger. Maybe, and frankly, I think the improvements in the iPhone 7 technology with the camera and the battery life and the speed, like from a 5 to a 7 or from a 6 to a 7, are pretty remarkable. Now the phone looks the same, but what?
Stop it.
I think that, come on, 50% more battery life.
Come on, really? Really? That's what you're gonna. That's your selling point.
The 50% faster.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's good stuff. A camera that's one of the best cameras, and a second best camera in the market now, but like a third best actually, but still, but a very good camera. I don't know. My point is, what do we want from Apple? Do we want the phone to come out? It's the new, like, if it was a new body style that was like transparent, translucent, or had wings and can fly, like, what do we, like, how do they have to top themselves with a phone that's pretty perfect?
Hey man, that's the thing. The Steve Jobs era, he was very good at bringing forth the magical realism of their product. Yeah, their product launch. He was a wizard, And wizards do stuff that we can't necessarily explain. Like, how are they doing this? How are they making this? This is so awesome. Like, and that mystique, that type of fantastical element that used to be baked into Apple's marketing push is no longer there. Like, it's not as sexy as it used to be. It's just like, okay.
Steve Jobs' foot was on everyone's throat and he's screaming at everybody. And firing fools.
Hey, sometimes you might need that leadership to really be innovative. Like, that's the same type of leadership that Elon Musk has.
Yes.
Like most, Or Kanye.
Or Mussolini. Hey, I don't know.
That's funny. That's funny. But to answer your question, I think it should. Every time they do a keynote, it should be dope. It should be like pushing boundaries and raising the bar of expectation. Shouldn't just be flat.
I will say that. I will say it should be that, or don't do it.
Yes, exactly.
You just slide a phone out without having to be like, "Good news, everyone! We've changed your lives again." Like
more battery.
No, you didn't.
Longer battery life.
I want to talk out to our folks at DraftKings. Football season's halfway done. If you're in a fantasy league like I am, you some of you are doing well. Some of you, or most of you, like me, are doing horribly. But that's okay. If you're in those season-long fantasy leagues, you should get out now or supplement them with DraftKings like I do. You can play once a week. Every single week is the destination for once a week fantasy football. Never again, injuries, all that stuff, the waiver wire, all that mess I got to deal with. You can do on DraftKings. You get a brand new season every single week. You pick your contest, draft your team, and win money every week. There's 50-50 contests, all kinds of contests. You win in a share of a gigantic amount of money. Don't wait. Start your season at DraftKings.com now. Use promo code GEEK to play for free with your first order and your first deposit. That's promo code GEEK to play for free and share in over $1 million in total cash prizes this weekend. Only at DraftKings.com. That's DraftKings.com. Eligibility restrictions apply. Check the site for details. DraftKings. Microsoft is... I was trying to argue how irrelevant Microsoft is as a company. I was listening to John Hellerman, who wrote the book Game Change, talking about Bill Gates and talking about the idea that Bill Gates, what's his obit? And I don't want him to die or anything, but what is his legacy? Is his legacy going to be starting the computer revolution, or in philanthropy, where he's like on track to being a part of curing a lot of diseases? I'm saying that Microsoft was a company that was super relevant that does not seem to be relevant anymore. Microsoft has kind of gone the way of IBM, which is like, it's relevant for what it did, but as an innovator, it's kind of like flattened out, if not dipped. But they're still fighting because they have a new. This is my opinion. I want to hear your opinion on that. But like, they have a new 3D Paint app, which lets you do 3D print your Minecraft creations and do other things, and it's a really interesting push on creativity and embracing sort of sparking innovation through creativity with youth. And I think it's the ad that they use when the software looks great. I don't know anything about Microsoft or anything about IBM stuff, or PC stuff, so I don't know. But what do you think of this? And what do you think of my assertion that Microsoft's dead?
I mean, I would definitely not say Microsoft is dead.
Not relevant.
I wouldn't say they're irrelevant either. I would say that, if you're comparing them to a Google or Apple, they're not as relevant, but they're definitely not irrelevant. I feel that they still have a market share in terms of fulfilling the needs of a lot of businesses throughout the world. It is Microsoft that's still, dominant. And in terms of the creative suite, a lot of their software is still being used, on Apple computers, on IBMs, on all types of computers. So I think that they still have a lot of prominence as it relates to software, and especially with stuff like this, developing stuff for the creative community. And a lot of their computer/tablet things that they pushed out, like, I think they're really fresh. Like how you're able to, as we see in this picture, you're able to illustrate something, animate it, and do it all. Do it all in one place using both hardware and software. So I wouldn't say that they're out the game, or they're not in the contest. They definitely are in the contest.
I take that back. They're definitely in the contest and doing some stuff. I think that they are not as relevant as they used to be in the early 90s and 80s and early 90s and early aughts. But I think that you're right, because this new campaign with these new tablets and what you're seeing is pretty innovative. And I'm still rocking my Xbox, so I know what I'm talking about.
And in terms of Bill Gates and his legacy, I think it'll be a dual legacy, just of what he's done technologically and what he's done philanthropically.
Yeah. Like
I feel like there's no one like him.
No.
Or not. Well, maybe one.
I think that, like, I will say that, I don't know, when it's all said and done, we'll see. But this is kind of a pattern. This is what all of those great, like the Mellons and the Carnegies and the Rockefellers, all these guys all these titans of industry, who made their bones in the Industrial Revolution on the backs of a lot of folks, then turned to like incredible philanthropy as often as a way. Well, not only that, but often as a way to sort of most of them is just to the guilt that they felt from the oppression and all the things that they did to a lot of different folks. And
I highly doubt that.
Well, no, that's the story. That is the story along the lines of most of these guys. It's like they gave and tried to whitewash basically all the dirt they did by sort of pushing their name forward in a philanthropic way, and a lot of it worked. You think of a lot of these guys, Rockefeller, and these names are still around, but I don't think that that's the case with Bill Gates. But that's a whole separate conversation, because he was in a lot of trouble, like a lot of trouble in 2000 for a lot of different. He was not the coolest guy in the world, and they switched to philanthropy, and now he's Bill and Melinda Gates. So
and you could draw the negative qualities of any person, and I am not a advocate of Bill Gates by no means, but
right.
What he's doing around the world in terms of trying to bridge clean water and have toilets in a lot of third world countries that don't have the infrastructure that we are blessed to have here. Like, I love what he's doing with that, just in terms of just various initiatives that he's put his time, not just his money, but his time and energy and brain power into. And I kind of admire that. And you can see the similarities with Mark Zuckerberg doing some of the same things, pledging to find cures for cancer and things of that nature. So in a way, you're right. When you get to be at that tightened level, like you kind of are forced to begin to do more philanthropic activities, and I think that's what we're seeing with a lot of tech company leaders. So
yeah. Speaking of tech, Snapchat did something really, God, man, this is a really cool thing. So Netflix is relaunching the Gilmore Girls, which I care zero about.
That is not true, bro. You have the poster in your house.
There is some Gilmore Girls happening around, but everyone who I'm close to who is of the female persuasion seems to be freaking out about the Gilmore Girls.
I don't believe it.
I really honestly I was not knowing about the Gilmore Girls because until there's a certain age group that are kind of like in the Generation Y, girls, like women in their 30s ish, that are losing their minds over the Gilmore Girls, and there's a whole nother generation that found them on Netflix. But so it's back. Netflix has a new thing, and Netflix did a pop-up coffee shop of Luke's Coffee Shop, did a bunch of them all over the country, and they had 200 local cafes and a bunch here in LA. And I know a lot of people that went to the one in Studio City. I know a lot of people that went. Lola and Julia went. And the point I'm making is Snapchat did a filter, and it was viewed by fans 880,000 times. Like, they've got the numbers on what they were able to do and accomplish is pretty amazing. Like, in one day they got like 500,000 it reached more than 500,000 people in one day. That's a pretty good marketing stunt by Netflix and Snapchat. I think that's pretty effective.
Definitely effective, and it's a great cross-play between a social media platform and a content platform. Mm-hmm. And I think that is great to see. I think it's great to see the relationship between the two work together to be able to promote not only content but also an experience on Snapchat. And I think it's a great thing for fans of the show to be able to have content to be able to interact with the sociability and interactivity of the content. I think I would love to see more of this, and I think obviously this is Snapchat's monetization play in terms of bringing more ad revenue into their platform, but having them do this with more movies and television shows, I think they've already done that, but to do it more, I think we're going to see that happen very soon. But yeah, I think Netflix is really making a lot of great moves. I think this is more of a Netflix a win than a Snapchat win, in my opinion.
It can't lose. And I just read the slate of Netflix releases for November, and it's outrageous. And it made me think this isn't going to slow down.
Yeah, every month, hours of content, 2017, original content.
Every month Netflix is going to be like, and here's our January output. We're going to be like, what? And then we got season 2s and 3s of things. They're really. I don't know, man. I mean,
I know. I know. We need to get that money.
We need to get some of that Netflix money, and we're definitely working on it. I want to skip to. Well, I do want to mention this cruise that hopefully I've never even heard of. That hopefully we're going to Summit at Sea.
Yeah.
Do you know about Summit at Sea?
I do actually.
How come I don't know anything about nothing? Summit at Sea started in 2008. Elliot Bensnow, started with 19 entrepreneurs and took them on a ski trip in Salt Lake City. And now it's grown to over 10,000 people. They got this huge cruise they do. Yeah. Kendrick Lamar, Harry Belafonte, a lot of folks, John Legend, basically like 1,000 really incredible minds together talking about and thinking about how to make things better, and I think it's dope.
Yeah, super dope. Because
not just black folks. It's Perry Farrell. It's everyone.
It's everyone. It's Silicon Valley meets popular culture meets innovation, and 90% of the people that come on these experiences are people they've already curated, and then 10% are people that can be invited or selected. But yeah, it's getting the greatest minds or people that are really doing innovative, cool things in their space, and getting them in the same room to have a conversation and to see what bridges can be built and what links could be met and what ideas can be sprouted out of that experience. And I think it's a great concept. It's pretty pricey. I think it's like $2,000 for those that are given the invitation. But conceptually, I think it's awesome because and what I really like about it is that it's transgenerational. They're not saying we only want a certain type of people. Like, it's open to the elder statesmen. Absolutely. And it's open to the youngest of us, And having that blend, that diversity, that variation really allows for innovation and a great idea think tank,
I would love to be on the Summit at Sea, man. By the way, you got a good racket when you have an invite-only thing. I'm exclusively inviting you to my event, Akili.
Yeah.
It's just minimum check for $2,000.
Yeah.
Like, when you invite someone to a thing and you happily will pay the $2,000 to get the invite, that's kind of dope. Moving forward, I want to touch just briefly. We got to get out of here, but I want to touch on Black Mirror. I've been talking about Black Mirror a lot. It's on. It's up. I've seen 5 out of the 6 episodes. I'm liking it. There's a couple clunkers in there, but for the most part, I think it's good. This article talks about the one episode which deals with sort of an augmented, sort of virtual reality, augmented reality. It's this idea of this guy playing a game that is sort of like is a matrix style neural implant into the brain, and it takes him in this world where stuff looks and feels real. Now obviously he can not touch it, but he's actually walking through this virtual reality world. Stuff pops out, it's scaring him, it's weird. But the idea is that after a while, when you don't know what's real and what's fake, what that does to your brain. And it's a really interesting thought, but it's, again, like all Black Mirror things, not that far away from reality. When you walk in a world where you're coming up, it's one thing to see a giant Pokemon, but when you're seeing like, a zombie chase you with a knife, like, your brain doesn't know that that's not a real zombie.
Yeah, it's not just that though. It's what they're proposing is that they're doing a psychology test on you to they'll ask you certain questions to kind of build a character profile of you to see what your fears are, and based on that they're injecting your own fears into this experience. So if you're afraid of spiders or whatever, there might be giant spiders that chase you. Or
spoiler alert, that happens to my man.
Oh really?
Yeah,
I haven't seen the episode.
In a very weird way.
Oh wow. I had no idea.
It's crazy though.
But I think the thing that's really most interesting, aside from the Black Mirror example, is that the real life example of this is that the AI technology that they're building into gaming is really, when you're playing the game, the AI is actually reading your behavior, what choices you're making within the game, how you're trying to navigate through the maze, like how you're killing the enemies, like all the moves that you're making is collecting that information. In a way, the game is playing you, it's studying you, and as it's studying you, it's creating new levels or a new experience. And I think that's crazy that we're even like thinking, or that we're close to that actually happening.
That's the weird part.
You're playing something that is changing and morphing based on the decisions that you're making in real time.
My friend Drew got the new PlayStation joint, and he was just saying like how he's playing video games his whole life, and he's actually a little older than me. And Drew was saying that he can't play. He's like, he can't play some of the games. It freaked him out because like it's one thing to be playing a game, but when you have this headset on, the zombies and monsters are life size. He said you look to the left and there's someone right there, and you're trying to shoot them down, but it's like your brain is messing. It says messing up. He said he can't stop playing. I was like, wow. I'm like, I want to play. So you think you want to play until the giant zombies start popping out of doors on you, and you're just wilding out on the couch. I don't know. Have you got a chance to play one of those like immersive games like that yet?
Oh no, I haven't played a game with the with any VR technology, but I've done a few of the VR experiences where you're just in a world and it's kind of guiding
bow and arrow, or you're doing some stuff.
But I haven't done a game one where you're actually like whipping ass or shooting stuff or running from stuff like. But I could see how that could be jarring psychologically, and I mean just the blurred lines of reality and fantasy. Like I think being in this immersive environment, your brain's going to change. Yeah. Like, and who knows how that's going to affect you when you're not connected to the device.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, it's
start switching and jumping and shooting stuff that's not a zombie.
Exactly. Which is back to full circle. That's kind of what the Black Mirror episode goes to, and it's really good. I will say, those of you who watched the first episode of Black Mirror, I was kind of like, all right. Like, keep watching. I feel like that they get progressively better, and I just the three that I saw in a row were like the middle three. Woo, fantastic.
Okay.
Last but not least, Disney is doing a version of Oliver Twist, and my man Ice Cube is going to be what's my man's name? Finnegan, and I think I just lost the story, but is Lin-Manuel involved in this one?
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, look, Lin-Manuel is right now, could not be the hotter, and very smartly, the Walt Disney Company has thrown him a bucket of money and said, as he said himself, I am the property of the Walt Disney Company for at least for the next unforeseeable future. He got him doing Mary Poppins. He did Mona. He's on some other stuff. He's doing this. I think this is good, right? Or no? How do you feel about this?
I mean, I feel that conceptually it could be good. I'm a little, I wouldn't say I'm suspect, but I don't know. Cube Vision, him putting his fingerlings in this. I mean, I think it could be good.
Oh, no, you sound like you're out on Cube Vision.
No, not definitely not out on Cube Vision. I don't know if this interests me personally. Do I think this would interest those that are into this type of content? Yeah, it could.
Well, those are fans of Oliver Twist.
Exactly.
And fans of, I was just never an Oliver Twist dude.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it doesn't really interest me, like with my sensibilities, but I feel like it's a good pairing of talent, and I think that the creative output is going to be great. You know.
And of course, I was never into Alexander Hamilton either, so I love that property. So
true.
I'm not a Hamilton guy. And the next thing you know, I'm all over it. And last but not least, I would say there's a disruption in the creative force. Well, two actually. A report. Deadpool director and Ryan Reynolds have parted ways. Miller and what's my man's name? Tim Miller. Tim Miller is leaving Deadpool for creative differences with Ryan Reynolds. I'm on a thread with all my boys right now, and they are hand-wringing about it now, asking me about, like, what's going to happen? And I don't think it's a big deal. I think, look, no disrespect to Tim Miller, but he's a visual effects guy, visual effects director. This is his first film. He was absolutely integral in bringing the creative making the look and feel of Deadpool, and also propelling what that is forward kinetically. But the heart and soul of what Deadpool was Ryan Reynolds, and in the character, when he brought to that character. I'm pretty sure they can plug in another director and another VFX team and probably get the same result.
Yeah, I think they can get the same result. Interesting, just the political dynamics between director and actor. You know, when a film is successful and the actor already has skin in the game, you know, in terms of like producer leadership, like, and he's saying, Ryan's saying, well, hey, this film grossed worldwide over $500 million. Like, I want to be more vocal about the creative decisions and happenings of this film, and I don't like the director.
They were like partners. They were like they came up. They did this together. Like, I know, that's brought up for nothing. It wasn't like he just got some guy he got thrown out. It was like his boy. Like,
that's weird.
Yeah. That's weird. What I read, what my insider Nate Hopkins, my friend who's worked on Star Wars and Avatar, he just texted and said, I'm just giving some inside dope right now. He just said that it was about Miller wanted to do more CG and push the boundaries of more CG, and Ryan Reynolds wanted more grit and more practical stuff. And so the creative differences was like, look, man, I'm the dude who brought you here. I'm the VFX guy. I want to do more VFX shit to get my game up. Yeah. And Ryan Reynolds like, this needs to be grittier and not VFX. He's like, I can make it grittier with the VFX. And then that's kind of where so that makes sense. And then it's supposed to be, they're saying it's an amicable split.
Right.
And Fox quickly snapped Miller up to put him on another project, another high profile project. So it's not like he's out of the business, but it happens. It happens creatively.
I would say that those that loved Deadpool, and the tonality of it and just how it was expressed in the first film, like a big degree of that was the auteurship of Tim. And so not to have him integrated into this new iteration of it, I think it might be totally off. And that could scare fans,
I like equal parts. I like what was happening visually and what they're able to do effects wise, and how the kinetic nature of how they use those visual effects, and also equally like what Ryan Reynolds was doing, as a character and what was happening with the screenplay.
Yeah, but he still was being directed.
Well, this is the argument. Ryan Reynolds would tell you like, man, he wouldn't directed me. Okay. I wrote that. I'm Ryan Reynolds. Like,
okay, but Ryan Reynolds wasn't the only actor in the movie.
Yeah, well. Okay, I hear you. I'm of the opinion that I'm not sure Tim Miller is Martin Scorsese. He's not exactly like working with the actors.
He's just in the lab doing effects. That's it. No,
I'm being dismissive. I know.
Super dismissive.
But okay. And the other major exit that is a quick one. We'll get out of here. Is our boy Brian Fuller is out as creative showrunner of Star Trek. He's got two major. I'm a huge fan of Brian Fuller. Also, he's kind of a somewhat friend of the program, and he's a huge creative force. But he had American Gods, which is a huge project coming for Stars, which looks fantastic, by the way, adapted from the Neil Gaiman novel. And then he also had Star Trek. So he's got two huge pieces of IP, and frankly, as great as American Gods look and it's about ready to launch, Star Trek is Star Trek. And so when your boss is Les Moonves of the CBS fame, Les doesn't play. Like, they already delayed it once.
Yeah.
And then and rumor has it he was have to delay it again till May.
Right.
And Les is like, my IP is more important than that IP. I got Star Trek. So you gotta, I don't know, I gotta make a move. So it's a split. It's an amicable split, is what they say, but
of course they say that.
I'm pretty sure he was fired.
Of course, it's amicable. No,
and I love Brian, but like, it's a lot. Two giant shows like that simultaneously.
I was very. I'm gonna keep it 100. I was very suspect about the Star Trek reboot. Especially with how they're distributing it. Giving it to Netflix international, but not giving it to Netflix domestically, and you have to go through the app to be able to watch the content. I mean, I felt like that already is a wrong place strategically, and just tonally, who knows? Like, it may not be the right tone. It may not be the right execution of it, And I think that's a big part of why the amicable split happened. I think it's something that's tonally, directorially off about it.
You don't think it's just a delay? Because
why is it delayed? Because he's busy? No, it's delayed because it's not right.
Yeah. I mean, because exactly, it's not like he has to be there hands on everything, but yeah, it's definitely not right. And it's interesting to see, I know that Brian's a huge sci-fi guy, huge genre guy. He wrote on, I think he wrote on Voyager for a while. He's a huge Star Trek person, but I would love to see what his vision of Star Trek looks like on his own, but I don't know if we'll ever be able to see what his sole vision. Now, he's staying on as executive producer, and he's staying on as the Godfather, but day-to-day showrunner, he's out.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
The showrunner is the guy that makes those creative decisions, and is the director of the television
but
show.
The new showrunner may blow up the writers' room. They may blow up everything, and they've got Nick Meyer in there, who directed Wrath of Khan and Star Trek 6, and he's been in there. And there's some I've heard some grumblings about whether or not people get along with Nick Meyer. He's old school, and so it's a lot of trouble. We'll see. And then they debuted the ship at Comic-Con, and it looked like a Klingon ship, and everyone was mad.
See, it's totally off.
And it's called Discovery, like we talked about. It's STD is the initials. That's off. It's mistake after mistake. STD.
Man, it's no bueno.
All right.
It's no bueno.
That's it for us. I think that's all we got. We didn't talk about Atlanta. Did you see Atlanta?
I think I'm...
Juneteenth?
Yeah, I haven't seen that episode yet.
Oh, my God.
The last episode I saw was the club one.
Okay, I love it. That was funny. Yeah. I like my
I felt like
with
just a quick beat on that. Like the one that was infomercial based, or the one that had the kind of like studio setup. Yeah, that one was kind of like, that was a little too much for me. I felt some parts were funny, but for a whole episode to do that, I felt that was just little. It kind of took the momentum down, you know.
I think that episode was an interesting experiment. I like what they're trying to do. I like that they did it. I like that they tried it. But I thought but to me, I didn't laugh. I didn't laugh as much as I wanted to laugh.
Not at all.
It felt like an episode of the Chappelle Show, but God, on Black Twitter and on anywhere, people were raving about that episode. Oh, the BEN episode. It's more like, I don't know, it feels more like an echo chamber of people wanting to perpetuate like it's so dope. I didn't find that dope. I did like the club one. The club one, but the Juneteenth one is good. Okay. The Juneteenth was actually funny. The Juneteenth one was kind of like back to the Black Beaver episode in terms of being bitingly, satirically funny.
Yeah, the Black Beaver episode, I think thus far is the best episode. That one is like laugh out loud, funny, hands down, hilarious.
In terms of funny, I mean, this was back to being funny and poignant. There's also some very poignant ones, like the one her solo episode with her by herself that was very poignant. I thought the episodes 1 and 2 were also very good. I don't know. Look, if we're talking about a show that the drama notes are dope on some episodes, and the comedy notes are dope on some, the comedy notes are down. I think we're talking about a really good piece of work. They're doing a lot of stuff.
Body of work, 100%.
I agree. All right, let's get out of here. Thank you very much. Where can people find you?
They can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Akibi Shine. Where can they find you?
They can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Joe K. Braswell. That's all I got. Bye.
From executives Keven Undergaro, Dario Kristen, Tiana Hobson, and the entire BHL staff, we would like to thank you for supporting Black Hollywood Live, the first online broadcast network dedicated to African American entertainment. For questions and comments, contact us. info@blackhollywoodlive.com. Like us on Facebook, tweet us, or Instagram us at BHL Online. And I am the official voice of Black Hollywood Live, Scipio, Instagram at KingXOBay. Thanks for tuning in.
The club one.
The views expressed here are those of the host only and do not necessarily reflect the views of BHL or its owners or principals.